All right, today, guys, we're going to talk about parallel lines cut by a transversal. So you need to make sure you have pages 26 and 28 of your notes. If you don't have them, you better pause it and run and grab them and come on back. So we're going to go. Parallel lines. When you're looking at the equation of a line, parallel lines are two lines that have the same slope. Remember, slope in the equation y equals mx plus b. Slope is the m. So when you're looking at the equation of a line, parallel lines are two lines that have the same slope. So you can tell whether or not two lines are the same just by looking at the equation, by looking at whether or not they have the same slope. Transversals are the lines that cut through two parallel lines. So a transversal is a fancy word in geometry for the line that cuts through two parallel lines. All right? And let's go. So there's different types of congruent angles. What does congruent mean again? That's right. It means equal. All right. So different types of congruent angles. We have corresponding angles. So we have this transversal. This is what the transversal looks like. We have two parallel lines here. We have M and N. They are parallel to each other. And here's this transversal cutting right on through. How rude, right? So here's corresponding angles. Here's a pair right here, 1 and 2. They are both in the same position in this pair of angles that we have, right? They're in the same spot. Those are corresponding angles. Likewise, we have 5 and 6. That's a pair of corresponding angles. We have 7 and 8. That's another pair of corresponding angles. And we have 3 and 4. Those are the corresponding angles. Each of those pairs are congruent. They are corresponding angles. Okay, we also have alternate. Try it again. Alternate interior angles. All right, here's the transversal cutting through these parallel lines. We have these two parallel lines and we have this blue transversal right here. Alternate interior angles, alternate meaning opposite, right? Interior meaning on the inside. They're on the inside of the parallel lines, right? So alternate interior angles are congruent. They are equal to each other. And the same with y. Those y angles are also equal to each other. Alternate interior angles are congruent. Likewise, the alternate exterior angles are also congruent. Same thing, opposite sides, alternate, right? So here's the two parallel lines and the transversal cutting through. And then we have on the outside of the parallel lines, on the opposite sides, those are also congruent. So we have the red angles, 134 degrees, both of them, and the green ones are both 46 degrees. All right, now we're going to talk about supplementary angles. We're not talking about congruency any longer here. Now we're talking about supplementary. Do you remember what supplementary means? Supplementary means they add up to 180 degrees. So same side exterior. Again, if you stop and think for a moment, you can probably guess what that means. Same side, so here's the transversal, cutting through these two parallel lines. These two hearts are on the same side of the transversal. On the outside of these parallel lines. They add up, the degrees of these two angles, add them together, they will add up to 180 degrees. And same with the stars. Likewise, same side interior angles are also supplementary. We're on the inside now. These two hearts are on the same side of the transversal, and they add up to 180 degrees. These two hearts will add up to 180 degrees. Add up these two angles here represented by the stars. These two will also add up to 180 degrees because they are supplementary, my dear Watson. All right, try it out. It says, example 1, find the measure of x, right here, that makes the marked lines parallel. Here's the marked lines. These two lines, we want to say they are parallel. So that would make this line a transversal. If these two are parallel, This is a transversal. So what kind of angles are these then? They're in the same position, right? The same position relative to where the transversal is cutting through each of their lines. So they are corresponding angles. That means they are, what? Congruent. That means that we can set their measures equal to each other, right? So 40x plus 5 then is equal to 125 degrees. And then we can solve the equation as we well know how to do by now and find that x is equal to 30. All right, let's try example 2. Find the measure of x that makes the marked lines parallel. Once again, marked line, marked line. We're saying these two are parallel to each other, right? So that makes this a transversal. Very good. So these two, where are they? Think about where they are. That's right. They're in the same position relative to where the transversal is cutting through the line. So they are corresponding angles, which means they are congruent. So we can once again set them equal to each other and solve the equation. And get x equals 8. All right. Let's see what's going on here. Find the measure of x that makes the marked lines parallel. All right, we've got these two lines right here that are marked. We're saying they're parallel to each other. Once again, we have a transversal. Now, which angles are we looking at? Where are they? Think about where they are. This one's inside. We're looking at the inside. And they're in opposite locations, right? Opposite sides. So alternate interior, right? Alternate interior. These are alternate interior angles, and so they are congruent. We can set these equal to each other. 14x equals 15x minus 5. Set these equal to each other, and now we have an equation that we know how to solve. And we get x equals 5. You guys are so smart. Wonderful mathematicians. I'm so proud of you. Sniffle, sniffle. Example 4. Find the measure of x that makes the marked lines parallel. Alrighty, here we go. Marked lines parallel. Two parallel lines. I know you weren't expecting that. And then look at that. A transversal. All right, where are our angles here? Here's one. Here's another. All right, think about where they are. Look at their locations, the angles that we're considering here. They're on the inside of the parallel lines. So we're looking at interior here. And they're on alternate sides of the transversal. Okay, so we're looking at alternate interior angles. So we have 10x plus 10, this angle, set equal to the other angle, which is 80 degrees. Solve the equation. X equals 7. Wanana. All right. What do we got here? Find the measure of x that makes the marked lines parallel. Okay, parallel lines. A transversal. Now where are our angles that we're considering? Okay, we are on the outside of the parallel lines now, right? Outside of the parallel lines. Where are we relative to the transversal? We're on opposite sides of it. We're on alternate sides of the transversal, and we're on the exterior of the parallel lines. We have alternate exterior angles. These are congruent, so we can set these equal to each other. So we have 14x minus 4 equals 13x plus 2. Right? So now we have an equation we can solve again. Work that out, and we get x equals 6. All right. Example 6. Find the measure of x that makes the marked lines parallel. Parallel lines, transversal. Alternate sides, exterior angles. These are congruent. Set them equal to each other. Solve for x. X equals 3. Great job. All right, these last two are not in your notes. So you're going to have to copy them on a separate sheet of paper and put them with your notes. You're going to have to add them in, okay? All right, let's go. All right, find the measure of x that makes the marked lines parallel. Parallel lines, transversal. Supplementary, okay? We're thinking supplementary, right? Because we're talking about same side now. These two are on the same side of the transversal, and they're on the interior. Same side, interior. So we add these together to get 180. So we are adding 16x minus 2 plus negative 7. Remember to put that in parentheses so that you don't confuse your operations. Plus 11x. Solve this through to get x is 7. Ooh, I almost said that wrong. And finally, find the measure of x that makes the marked lines parallel. All right, think about where these angles are. Two parallel lines. Here's your transversal. All right. They are both to the left side of the transversal, so they are on the same side, and they are both on the inside of the parallel line, so they are interior. Same side, interior. So these are supplementary. Supplementary means we add them together to get 180. So 19x minus 1 plus 11x plus 1 is 180. Solve it through. You get a nice clean 30x equals 180 and get x equals 6. Excellent job! You guys are such great mathematicians, and I am so proud.